Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Adam Eisen Show. It's the 10th episode of this season, and we are going to go ahead and jump into things talking about two teams that played on Thursday Night Football this past week, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Baltimore Ravens. Now, Baltimore and Lamar Jackson, Tampa, Tom Brady, both are going through equally unique situations. I'm going to start with Lamar Jackson, and at this point, he has fully proved himself as a top quarterback in this league, and I don't think there's a debate around that anymore. He's simply playing better than Brady and Rodgers and guys like that at the moment. On the road, he won against Brady and Tampa in all of the big stats: first downs, red zone offense, time of possession, he won in all the biggest stats, missing his best wide receiver and his best tight end for most of the game. To be great in this league in 2022, I need some horsepower. I need a big arm. Mahomes, Allen, Herbert, they've got the arms. Or I need the athleticism. I need Lamar. I need Allen again. I need Kyler Murray. That's what you need in 2022. But when all you have to rely on is experience, then you are old. And that's what Brady is turning into at the moment. In 2022, I need Lamborghinis. I need Ferraris. In the biggest matchups there are, that's what you need. You can't go out there trying to win on experience. You got to have the athleticism. You've got to have the big arm. The talent level is simply too high nowadays. And this is not to say that a team like the Dolphins with Tua or the Vikings with Kirk Cousins can't win. But when you get into these big moments, Thursday Night Football, Ravens versus Bucks, Sunday Night Football, Packers versus Bills, the wild card round, divisional rounds, championship, Super Bowl, and so on, you need a Lamborghini. You need a Ferrari. You need something fast, quick, strong, a lot of horsepower nowadays. And yes, Lamar, he can make all of the throws that people are doubting. He made significantly more talented throws than Brady did on Thursday night. He may be running a lot for the team, and it's a big worry for me as well. I understand where a lot of the analysts and professionals are coming from. But I also see back in 2015 when Cam Newton and the Carolina Panthers went 15-1, and it was Super Cam. Everybody thought he was invincible. He was taking hit after hit after hit every game. They were brutal hits. And I said the career wasn't going to last much more than 3 years, and it didn't even last that. Cam took big hits, and Lamar simply doesn't. I keep waiting for him to get cracked. Keep waiting for him to slow down and take his foot off the gas. But everyone keeps expecting him to get rocked, to get these big hits, but he's going year 4, year 5 right now. He has a huge chip on his shoulder still from getting drafted 32nd overall, and he's developed his arm significantly. People, pass rush, cornerbacks, safeties, they no longer just have to be worried about Lamar running. He has the arm talent. He lost his star receiver, his star tight end. He was on the road in Tampa and made all the plays he was asked to make and more. Brady looks old, not mobile, and without weapons. And just while I'm speaking of it, I do want to wish my best to Brady. Him and Giselle have had a hard past year privately, especially last few weeks, and I want to wish him the best. But switching back to Lamar now, it is time to pay him more. And the Ravens organization messed up this offseason by not paying him more. A lot of people had their doubts on him in college, which I understand. A lot of people had their doubts on him the first few years. Even after he went and won MVP, people have their doubts. He's not this. He's not that. He can't do this. But I promise, 16 to 18 teams in this league, if you're a fan of one of these teams, you would feel a whole lot better if Lamar Jackson was your quarterback. I have Aaron Rodgers as my quarterback, And I would take Lamar Jackson right now, at his age, at how good he is playing, knowing Rodgers is likely to retire after this season. Lamar Jackson, he's 42-15 through the regular season. That's the 6th highest winning percentage of all time. 122 total touchdowns. And for everybody that was coming for him saying he can't pass, he won't be able to throw the ball, he has a 97.5 passer rating. That's better than Peyton Manning. It's better than Joe Montana's. That's better than Steve Young's. That's better than Dan Marino's. And you all are saying, oh, those are pass guys. Okay, that's better than Josh Allen's. That's better than Kyler Murray's. Maybe he won't win a Super Bowl. Marino never did. Rodgers only won one, and he's not going to be close this year. But a lot of teams, 16 to 18 teams in the NFL, will flat out feel better about themselves each morning when they wake up. As a general manager, he or she, they could feel better about themselves with Lamar Jackson as their quarterback. What you don't want is to be one of the half of the teams in this league where you wake up each morning and you don't feel good. You don't have much hope. Baltimore, this past offseason, they should have went ahead and paid Lamar Jackson. They would have gotten him for about $100 million cheaper than they're currently. But also kudos to Lamar. He held out. He bet on himself. We've seen guys like Baker Mayfield in the past. They held out. They bet on themselves. And it did not work out. Baker's shoulder fell apart. He's in Carolina right now on a QB carousel. Pay Lamar. He outperformed Brady on Thursday Night Football significantly. Tampa Bay Buccaneers are 3-5, and I don't know simply how they can find much life left at this point. Receivers hurt. Brady looks old. He's not as mobile. You can't win in this league just based off experience anymore. I need horsepower. I need a big arm. I need athleticism. I need Lamborghinis. I need Ferraris. Now, transferring to Russell Wilson, I want to talk about the Denver Broncos a little bit. It feels like I'm talking about this nearly every week, but it's simply because Russell Wilson is writing one of the funniest chapters in all the NFL's book. This ship is completely sinking in Denver, or shall I say the plane that flew them out to London. Because this past week, Russell Wilson, if you all did not see the press conference and him talking about once he got off the plane in London, basically it was an 8-hour flight. He said, I was up the whole time, that 8-hour flight. I was doing rehab. Then for about 4 hours, I was doing high knees and cardio up and down the aisles, and made sure to add in there while my teammates were sleeping. He's becoming an even bigger meme online, and the whole NFL sees it. His whole team sees it. Baltimore's kicker, Justin Tucker, even took a shot the other night on the plane ride back from Tampa. They flew to London, and Russell, all he could get off the plane, all he could do when he got off the plane is say how his teammates were sleeping. And that's something that would piss me the hell off. He's doing high knees up and down the aisle, middle of the night. Teammates, wide receivers, running backs, they're obviously on the sideline. They are not happy with Russell Wilson overall. And for him to be doing that, it's just not a good look. You don't go and say that on a press conference. It's making yourself into a bigger meme online and bringing too much attention to this football team overall who only has a couple wins. And then the other problem I see here is their head coach, Nathaniel Hackett. Nathaniel Hackett, last year, he was the offensive coordinator for the Green Bay Packers. He was for numerous years in a row, implemented the gold zone offense, which was the most efficient red zone offense in the NFL by far that we've seen in years. Nathaniel Hackett, he got this head coaching job, and he is a young guy. He's like Josh McDaniels was 8 to 10 years ago. McDaniels got this Denver job, and within a year he was out of it because he could not bring the team together, could not rally the troops, get them to block out, let's say, the haters, but block out the internet. Nathaniel Hackett can't pull this together and get the chemistry right. And I really think this could be another Josh McDaniels situation. People thought he could rally the troops and build the team. But after a year, he flew right back home to New England to be offensive coordinator for Bill Belichick. And I don't blame him. Could be the same thing that happens to Nathaniel Hackett. This is extremely hard to rally at this point. With only a couple wins, with the amount of stars you have, with the amount of, I don't want to say loudmouths, but it's 2022, guys. The internet's everywhere. There's 50 cameras at every game. It could go 50 to 100 cameras. They're catching everything. Every look of disgust towards Russell, those cameras are picking up, and it's getting reposted a dozen times, 24 times on social media everywhere. Everybody's talking about it. For a team to only have a couple wins and be talked about as much as they are, it is not a good look, and it's just not good for Nathaniel Hackett's first year as a head coach. I love the guy. I thought he was a great offensive coordinator for the Packers. But sometimes you can't rally the troops. Sometimes you're too young and you don't have the experience. He might need to go back to Green Bay, go somewhere else, be an OC again. Never know. But Denver, they are falling apart. And a team just like Denver that is falling apart, the Green Bay Packers, just this past weekend, they lost to the Washington Commanders. Awful loss. They pulled it back within a couple points at the end. There was a lateral play, didn't work out, and it was just a pathetic performance overall. They put up 14 points quick. There was a few drop picks. There was a fumble that was overturned. Wasn't a pretty game at all. Rodgers said it, and I agree with him completely. Years in the past, games where they'd have 4 or 5 or 6 mental errors, they're consistently having double-digit mental errors. And this weekend against the Bills on Sunday Night Football, they're a double-digit underdog. The first time in Aaron Rodgers' whole career. Now, in all of his interviews on Pat McAfee Tuesday and his press conferences, all that, he seems optimistic. He seems overly optimistic. Which is honestly, it's how he has to act. He's an optimistic dude overall. But I don't see how this ship gets this gets on the right path. I don't see it. We're going to lose to the Bills this weekend. Going into Buffalo, Sunday Night Football. Receivers are hurt. Bakhtiari might not be out there. Allen Lazard, he's in a sling. The trade deadline, it's this upcoming Tuesday, November 1st. And Allen Lazard, he said this past week, no, not at all, to if the Packers needed to trade for a receiver. And that is just categorically false. They have to trade for a receiver, and honestly, I think they need to trade for a pass rusher as well, because we're getting thin there as well due to injuries. If they want any chance to run this back with Rodgers, his last year in Green Bay, the next 3 days is when they have a chance to make it. I'm shocked they didn't make a move this past week. With the amount of drop balls that came from receivers, I thought they would. There's plenty of guys out on the market. Brandon Cooks, AJ Green, Chase Claypool, anybody at this point I'll take. With the Packers, I don't have much faith left, and it hurts to say. They could pull it back around. We ran the table. Rodgers has told us RELAX. But 10.5 point underdogs against Buffalo Bills. My opinion, the best team in the NFL. 3-5, just like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's not a good look. And we could go into the playoffs this year with Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady not in them. Another team I want to talk about, it's an NFC North team, the Chicago Bears, quickly on them. Justin Fields, it's amazing to me how we're 7 weeks into this year, and I still haven't been able to say that he's completed more than 15 passes in a football game. That is completely wild to me. They have and I'm happy they're finally doing what people have been saying and trading away these big defensive pieces. Robert Quinn, he got traded to the Eagles, and a quick note on the Eagles. They are going all in this season, which I love, like the Bucks and like the Rams have done the last 2 years, and they went out and won Super Bowls. The Philadelphia Eagles, they recognize that this team with Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, all those guys, they recognize that this is a special team, and they are going to have to go all in for a Super Bowl. They're still undefeated going into Week 8. In Week 8, they're playing the Pittsburgh Steelers, so they could very well be 8-0, and this is just too good of an opportunity to pass up. But back to the Bears, they're trading away their defensive pieces. I think they need to trade away Roquan Smith as well, their linebacker. You're not winning a Super Bowl based off a linebacker anymore. And Fields is a generational talent, period, whom the Bears are wasting away and won't be able to keep after his rookie deal is up at this rate. If I was Fields, I wouldn't want to be in Chicago. If I say to you, who's the best quarterback and receiver Chicago has ever had, you go, yeah, you got a point. Fields is possibly the best talent they've ever had playing quarterback. And the Bears aren't recognizing it like Philadelphia is with Jalen Hurts. The Bears are letting this waste away, and they're not going to lock Fields up, and they're not going to provide Fields with the help he needs. Now, the last two teams I want to talk about before we get to the best bets of the day and then get out of here, just quickly on the Patriots and the New England Patriots and the Indianapolis Colts. Two legendary franchises, two we can obviously see are fed up, especially their owners, Robert Kraft and Jim Irsay. Now, I spoke a little bit about this last week, but I think the Patriots, they are done with Mac Jones the same way the Colts are done with Matt Ryan. Last week, there was a decision to be made in the New England Patriots organization with Bill Belichick. It was either go Mac Jones or go Bailey Zapp. And there was a report that came out that said Mac Jones and the New England Patriots organization were going opposite ways. Their relationship was declining. And if that report was true, I said they needed to switch to Bailey Zapp if that didn't look pretty. And that's exactly what they did before halftime even reached the game last weekend. New England Patriots, they're committing to Zapp, and the Indianapolis Colts, they did Matt Ryan dirty, benching him and not saying it was because of an injury. You don't do an NFL quarterback like Matt Ryan like that, a guy who has played forever and won an MVP. These organizations, these owners, they're fed up. The Patriots, they were a dynasty. They had two separate dynasties back to back. 3 Super Bowls. Brady was winning MVPs. Belichick was regarded as the best coach. Jim Irsay, he had Peyton Manning for years. Then he went to Andrew Luck. And since then, he has been on a complete QB carousel, going from Jacoby Brissett to Carson Wentz to Matt Ryan. You sprinkle a few other guys in there throughout. These organizations, they're fed up. They're legendary, historic programs. And Bill Belichick, at this point, he seems to be leaning towards Zapp. Back to if those reports are true or not. I think they are at this point. The drift between the organization and Mac Jones simply is too great. And Bailey Zapp, he may be out of Western Kentucky, out of Conference USA. But, you know, it's Bill Belichick. He wasted a first-round pick on a guy from University of Chattanooga. You don't know what's going to happen with this guy or what they're going to do. Now, going to the best bets of the weekend, I got 4 bets for you guys. It's going to be 4 spread bets. And the first one, it's going to be Chicago Bears at Dallas Cowboys. And when I was looking at this line, I was honestly shocked Dallas opened up as 10.5-point favorites. I know I was just ripping on the Bears, but they did put up 33 points against the Patriots. Dallas has a good defense, but I don't have confidence they'll beat the Bears by 11. So I got to go Bears plus 10.5 here. Next game, Cincinnati Bengals at the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland, they are 3-point underdogs. I have to take Cincinnati minus 3 here. Seems like the obvious bet. Cleveland, they're still rocking with Jacoby Brissett, a quarterback. Bengals, things are starting to click. Yes, Jamar Chase, he could be out for an extended period of time, but things are still clicking with Higgins, with Boyd. It'll be okay. Denver Broncos versus Jacksonville Jaguars in London. I was just completely ripping on Denver, and I don't think they're going to be able to get it together, even in a foreign country. Jacksonville's favored by 3.5, and I got to take Jacksonville minus 3.5. And lastly, Cardinals at Vikings. Vikings, they're favored by 3.5. I don't see Arizona traveling up to Minnesota and winning this game. Minnesota, they currently doing very good, top of the NFC North, only one loss. Vikings should take care of business, minus 3.5. So quick rundown: Bears plus 10.5, Cincinnati minus 3, Jacksonville minus 3.5, and Vikings minus 3.5. Thank you all so much for tuning in to another edition of the Adam Eisen Show. I will be back on Tuesday to give you all a quick Week 8 recap, and next Friday for the typical show. Until then, peace.